Morning, Your Honor. Spencer Nichols on behalf of Washington Gas.
Good morning, Your Honor. Ryan Shu on behalf of Office of People's Counsel.
Good morning, Your Honor. Kenneth Albert on behalf of staff.
I could move to enter the certificate of publication, Your Honor. The company would move to mark as WGL Exhibit 1. It's a certification of publication that was filed on March 12, 2024 at mail log 308214.
None.
We can proceed with our case, Your Honor. The company would call it Elizabeth Woolahan, please. The witness can be sworn.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the testimony that you're about to give? Thank you.
Ms. Woolahan, by whom are you employed? How long have you been employed by Washington Gas Light Company? 5.5 years. And what is your current position? Do you have a copy of your pre-filed direct testimony with you on the stand? Does it consist of 17 pages of questions and answers? And are there any exhibits attached to your direct testimony? Do you have a copy of your pre-filed rebuttal testimony with you? Does it consist of 11 pages of questions and answers? And are there any exhibits to your rebuttal testimony? Does either your direct or rebuttal testimony have any confidential information? Which one, or both? Does your direct testimony have confidential information in it? Does your rebuttal testimony have confidential? Okay. And if I asked you the same questions today as you have written in your pre-filed direct and rebuttal testimony, would your answers be the same? Do you adopt your direct and rebuttal testimony as your own in this case? Your Honor, I move to mark Ms. Woolahan's direct testimony as WGL Exhibit 2. We could do the confidential version as 2C, and also move to mark as WGL Exhibit 3 Ms. Woolahan's rebuttal testimony, and to move for admission.
No objection.
Objection.
The witness is available for any questions.
Yes, Your Honor. Good morning, Ms. Woolahan. Sir, is it? Okay. How are you doing? So I just wanted to have a couple topics to go over. So I guess first off, it'd be correct to say that certified natural gas is gas that has been certified by an independent third party as having been produced in a manner that minimizes environmental harm, such as harm due to the leakage of methane, correct? I was actually quoting from Staff Thomas, Witness Thomas, but is that generally correct? Yes. Okay. And so the company executed some transactions for certified natural gas. I'm going to call it CTNG from here on, but the company executed some transactions for CTNG during this period, correct? Yes. And these transactions were for baseload contracts, correct? Okay. And a baseload contract is essentially something that, we know, the company knows that no matter what, we'll need to have at least this amount of gas, and so you basically buy a baseline level of gas supply, right? Okay. And so to procure baseload natural gas, you put out like requests for proposals, right? RFPs? Right, okay. I'd like to discuss the RFP process momentarily. So who decides how what RFPs to put out? Or is it like a person or a group? Or Mm-hmm. Okay. And you're the head of that department, right? Okay. So what decisions or choices need to be made before putting out the RFP? You know, you have to make certain decisions or choices before putting it out. Okay. And okay, so and then to clarify, so for CTNG purchases that were made, the RFPs were specifically for CTNG, correct? That's correct. Okay. So how were the specifics on that included in the RFP? Or sorry, let me rephrase that. Like, did the RFPs for the CTNG, you know, did you specify that you need to we're looking for a certain specification or something like that? Okay.
Just a second, Mr. Chair.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Okay. Do you know how many suppliers you sent the RFP to?
Not off the top of my head, but I
sure.
think that's in my testimony.
Okay, I was just curious. Do you know, how did you identify those suppliers?
So we sent out the RFP to our normal distribution list of all suppliers that we typically procure from.
Okay.
We have NASB agreements in place with.
Mm-hmm. And then, so after the contract was signed and the agreement was in place, did WGL request information, additional information about the certified gas, or was it sent information providing records of the certified gas?
Yeah, so as part of the certified gas process, every month the attributes are retired. So for the transactions in this case, they were retired on the MIQ platform, and we do receive certificates for that.
Okay. That's something that would only happen in a certified natural gas context, right? The retirement of environmental attributes, or it wouldn't happen with regular natural gas. Sorry, is what I'm asking.
Correct.
Okay, so just to reiterate, so for the same time frames as the CTNG contracts, did WGL put out an RFP for regular natural gas baseload contracts or just the CTNG baseload contracts?
We only put out RFPs for the certified natural gas.
Okay. So you only had bids for certified natural gas coming in, right?
That's correct. Natural gas trades independent of RFPs on public platforms that are available for us to see the data for, you know, how natural gas is trading.
Sure.
Where certified gas does not.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then the company doesn't know exactly what bid prices it could have gotten if it had put out an RFP for regular gas, right?
I think witness Larkin Connolly talks about how there would need to be, in order to understand the exact gas price at the exact time of the RFP, there would need to be that issuance at the same time, and I agree with that.
Okay. So essentially, the company can't say for certain whether it paid a premium for the CTNGs for the environmental attributes of the certified natural gas or not, because you didn't have a bid for regular gas to compare it to, right?
If I understand your question correctly, you're saying the company does not know whether they paid more or less for the commodity as they otherwise would have, and I agree with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so if we refer to your rebuttal testimony on page 7, lines 3 to 5.
Can you repeat the page number?
Page 7. Oh, sorry, actually page 8. Page 8, lines 3 to 5. You state that Mr. Larkin Connolly's assumption is simply incorrect and establishes an unreasonable hurdle for a natural gas LDC to acquire natural gas at or below market indices regardless of prevailing market conditions. That's what you stated, correct, in your rebuttal testimony, correct?
That's correct.
Is it your understanding that Mr. Larkin Connolly's testimony is that all natural gas purchases need to be made at or below market prices? That's it.
My understanding of Mr. Larkin Connolly's testimony is that he assumes the adder associated with the commodity that we purchased should be disallowed for reasons that it is above the market adder. So yes, he's making an assumption about gas prices at that period.
Okay, are you familiar with Public Utilities Article, Section 4402? I have a copy if you need one.
I'm not.
May I approach the witness?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So if you look at 4402C1, 4402C1 says that the commission shall order a company to charge off and amortize by means of a temporary decrease of rates any charge the commission finds is unjustified because, 1, the company failed to show that the charges were based solely on increased costs of fuel, purchased power, purchased gas, correct?
Yep.
So basically the company has to show that the PGA charges were based on increased gas costs, right? In gas costs.
Yes.
Okay. So if you could, let's switch topics now slightly. So you could refer to pages 2 and 3 of your rebuttal testimony. You discussed the registry of certificates from certified natural gas purchases as being equivalent to RECs. Or REC is REC. So you say on page 2, lines 17 to 22, that essentially retiring to CTNG certificates is similar or equivalent to renewable energy credits for electricity, correct?
Yes.
And then you further state that the attributes related to certified natural gas align with Maryland's greenhouse gas reduction goals because Maryland takes a regional approach to greenhouse gas reduction. Is that correct? So around lines 23 to 25 going into page 3.
Can you repeat your question?
Sorry. Is it correct for me to say that that your testimony is that the attributes related, sort of retiring certified natural gas attributes, aligns with Maryland's greenhouse gas reduction goals because Maryland takes a regional approach to that? Is that correct?
My testimony is I believe that the attributes should count towards Maryland's climate goals.
Should, but do they?
That's not my area of expertise enough to determine how Maryland determines.
Okay. So, or I guess, well, I guess you just said this isn't your area of expertise, but I'll ask if you know. Or do you know that the Maryland Department of Environment is tasked with taking the inventory of greenhouse gas emissions from the state and tracking progress on Maryland's climate goals? You want me to restate?
I'm vaguely aware that that,
Yeah.
and I'll just repeat, not an expert on that.
Okay, and so if you know, you can say you don't know if you don't. Does the current approach used by MDE take into account emissions reductions related to out-of-state gas production?
I don't know.
Okay. Just one more thing. So customers by default are supplied by WGL, right? As in, if they don't select a supplier, they're by default given gas supply by WGL, correct?
Yes, for firm customers, we are the supplier of last resort.
Okay. So if customers want to specifically purchase certified natural gas or other gas that purportedly supports the environment at a premium, they can do that through a retail supplier, right?
If they want a specific product, customers would have to look to a third-party supplier.
Okay. Is the company capable of creating RFPs that solicit bids from both regular and certified natural gas suppliers and then selecting the lowest cost option from that group?
The company is capable of doing that. I would caution doing that for a couple of reasons. One of which is when you issue RFPs, you want to solicit as many competitive responses as possible. When you start to add in multiple products, the market starts to question what you're trying to do and what you're actually interested in procuring. So if they don't think that you're serious about procuring supply, they may not respond to your RFP, and we've seen that. So in order to keep things competitive, we try to issue RFPs that are focused. The other reason, which I cover in my testimony, is that part of issuing RFPs is sending market signals to the industry that the expectation is that producers work to reduce their emissions.
On that first point, it sounded like you just said that you want to have as many bids as possible, so we should restrict how many bids come in.
I'm saying we want to have as many respondents as possible so that we have competitive pricing. If you put out a request for proposal asking for more than one or multiple items, what happens is market participants start to question whether or not you're going to award what you've put out, and we don't get the same number of responses.
Why?
I'm going to object. I think the witness explained perfectly fine what the reason is for not issuing multiple RFPs.
I'm going to allow the question. Go ahead.
Can you repeat it for me?
Why do you think people think you're less serious if you ask for more different types of product in the same RFP? Or, sorry.
So I'll start by saying I don't know exactly, right? Just being a buyer. But what I would guess is industry participants understand that we're a utility and that we are procuring supply to meet our demand. And so if we've now said that our demand is different from normal patterns, or we're looking to procure different options for supply, The market is pretty savvy, and they may try to deduce what's going on and may think that we're just soliciting information and choose not to reply.
You could put out 2 RFPs for the same time period, could you not?
We could issue 2 RFPs. I think that would cause confusion, but we could do it.
Okay, nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. Staff?
No questions, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Ms. Wolahan, did the company pay more for certified natural gas during this period than it would have for non-certified natural gas during this period?
My testimony is that we purchased gas at market price. There's no way to know if we could have paid more or paid less for certified gas. What we do know conclusively is other buyers who did not purchase certified gas paid more for the commodity during 11 of the 12 months that we purchased the certified gas.
Thank you. That's all I have.
I have no questions for this witness. Thank you for your appearance this morning.
Thank you.
Next witness.
My understanding, Your Honor, is that staff and OPC have agreed to stipulate to the entry of the remaining testimony, and if I'm incorrect,
That is
you
correct.
can speak up. So I would ask to mark as WGL Exhibit 4 the direct testimony of Sasha Troup.
WGL4 is marked.
And I would move to mark the supplemental testimony from Mr. Troup as WGL Exhibit 5.
WGL5 is marked.
And I would move to admit both 4 and 5 into the record.
Any objection?
No objection.
WGL4 and 5 are admitted.
And then finally, I would ask to be marked the direct testimony of Jacob Waller as WGL Exhibit 6 and move its entry into the record.
WGL Exhibit 6 is marked. Any objection?
No objection.
No objection.
WGL Exhibit 6 is admitted.
And that's our case, Your Honor.
Okay, the company rests. OPC?
OPC calls Brendan Larkin Connolly to stand.
Yes. Does that work? Oh.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the testimony that you're about to give?
I do.
Thank you.
So believe it or not, folks are watching us on YouTube, and they're telling us that these mics, which are the ones that connect to YouTube, are like directional and need to be kind of close to your face
Okay.
and are not picking everyone up. These mics are for the court reporter.
Okay. So
So we're dual mic.
speak directly in here.
Yes, thank you. Can you state your name and spell it for the record, please?
Yes. Brendan Larkin Connolly, BRENDAN. And then Larkin Connolly is LARKIN hyphen CONNOLLY.
Thank you. Your witness.
Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Larkin Connolly.
Good morning.
Would you please state the name of your business?
DH Infrastructure.
Would you please state the position that you hold there?
I'm the Director of Utility Regulation and Litigation.
Okay. Mr. Larkin Connolly, do you have before you a confidential version and a public version of your direct testimony filed in this case on February 12th?
I do.
Your Honor, I would like to have Mr. Larkin's public pre-filed direct marked for identification as OPC Exhibit 1 and the confidential OPC Exhibit 1C.
OPC 1 and 1C are marked.
Were all of the documents before you prepared by you or under your supervision and direction?
Yes, they were.
Do you have any corrections to make to your testimony at this time?
I do one small change.
What is that?
It's on the front page of both the confidential and public version. I inadvertently marked the date as February 12th, 2023, and it should have been February 12th, 2024.
Okay. Aside from that correction, do you have any other corrections to make to your testimony at this time?
I do not.
If you were asked the same questions today, would your answers be the same?
They would.
Do you adopt this direct testimony as your sworn testimony in this matter?
I do.
Your Honor, I move that OPC Exhibits 1 and 1C be admitted into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection.
No objection.
1 and 1C are admitted.
Your Honor, witness is now available for cross-examination.
Staff,
No questions.
WGL.
Thank you. Mr. Larkin Conley, in your direct testimony, you say that you've provided, quote, expert consulting on accelerated pipeline replacement programs in other states. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you've advised overseas on utility rate design, correct?
That's right.
But you don't hold yourself out as a marketing expert, correct?
No, I'm an economist, not a specific.
There's nothing in your testimony about whether Washington Gas actually, quote unquote, markets its purchase of certified gas, correct?
Not that they are currently doing. I do not state that, no.
This is the first time you've been retained to provide testimony in a purchase gas charge case, correct?
This is the first time I've submitted testimony in a purchase gas charge, but I have been providing consulting services to OPC on these purchase gas charges since 2019.
Thank you. And just to be clear, your testimony is that there is a potential excess cost for certified gas, correct?
My testimony is that it's much as witness Wolhan just said, that it's unclear. We can't establish whether WGL did or did not pay more.
Okay, so you don't actually show that certified gas costs, in this case, more than non-certified gas, correct?
I cannot show that because there is no fact evidence on record to be able to do that.
And you're not in charge, and as far as you know, OPC is not in charge of deciding what counts towards Maryland climate goals under the Climate Solutions Now Act, correct?
No, but I am aware of what counts towards the Climate Solutions Now Act.
Are you aware that long before the Climate Solutions Now Act, the Commission has been required to consider, quote, the preservation of environmental quality, including protection of the global climate?
Yes, I'm aware of that.
No further questions. Thank you.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
I think you're recommending that the overall cost amount in this case be reduced by roughly $100,000. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And I think that number is not confidential. So without talking about any other numbers, can you just kind of generally give your calculation as to how you reach that amount?
Yes. What I did is from reviewing the company's testimony and their identification of the contracts that they entered into for the baseload contracts, and then so they talked about both the quantity of that they purchased per day for each contract, and then the adder, sort of the margin above the index prices that they paid on each of those transactions. So I multiplied the daily quantities times the adder, and added that, so the cumulative sum of the sort of quantities purchased times the 2 cent, sorry, just the adder on each decatherm, and then is my understanding WGL makes these purchases, commodity gas purchases, for serving all three of their jurisdictions, and so I then allocated only Maryland's portion, which was 41.6% to it.
Okay, thank you. Was there anything, aside from purchasing the CNG when it hasn't been specifically ordered, that type of purchase, was there anything about WGL's process, its RFPs, that was unreasonable or imprudent?
I think the one thing, if they were to do this in a way where I think it could be under consideration for inclusion in the purchase gas charge, that I would have liked to have seen an RFP that sought both certified gas and non-certified gas at the same time, to be able to allow us to be able to really compare apples to apples the transaction.
Okay, you heard the live testimony of Ms. Willihan this morning.
I did.
You don't agree that the issuing two simultaneous bids or one combined type of RFP could damage the company's or damage the results of that bidding based on confusion in the market?
I was unsure how that would. So my understanding of it was that I could see if you put out an RFP and you said that was one of the criteria that they're going to use to evaluate that the companies can include any certifications attached to the bid. I can see that it's possible that a certified company may not submit a bid thinking that they're not going to be competitive against a non-certified bid. So I could see them that if you sort of put it out there that you're seeking both bids at once, you're not going to get the certified bids potentially. So I see that. That's what I understood to possibly be the explanation from the company's witness was if you're not specifically asking for certified natural gas, you're not going to get certified natural gas bids.
Does any council have any questions based off of my questions? Go ahead.
Mr. Larkin Conley, could I just direct you to page 14 and 15 of your direct testimony, confidential table 2?
Yes, I'm there.
Without getting into the numbers again, that table shows that the price the company paid for certified gas was within the market price range of non-certified gas, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Council?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Nothing from staff.
Thank you for your testimony this morning. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Anything else from Office of People's Counsel?
No, Your Honor.
Staff?
Thank you, Your Honor. We will call our first witness Felix Patterson via virtual platform.
Mr. Patterson, can you turn on your microphone and your video, please? Can you all see Mr. Patterson? Okay. Thank you. Oh,
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the testimony that you're about to give? Yes, I do. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Patterson. What are your job responsibilities as an accountant in the Commission's Accounting and Audit Division? Okay, could you please speak up a little bit? We're having the microphone link is a little weak. Thank you. And as part of that, you review purchased gas. You participate routinely in annual reviews of utility purchased gas costs, correct?
That is correct.
Now, in this proceeding, did you prepare direct testimony that was filed on February 12th, 2024?
That is correct.
Do you have any changes or corrections to that testimony?
No, I do not.
Your Honor, we would ask that Mr. Patterson's direct testimony be marked as Staff Exhibit 1,
Staff Exhibit 1 is marked.
and we ask that that be admitted into the record.
Any objection?
No objection. No.
Staff Exhibit 1 is admitted.
The witness is now available for cross.
Office of People's Counsel?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Nothing, Your Honor.
WGL? I also have no questions for Mr. Patterson.
Okay.
Mr. Patterson, thank you for your testimony this morning. And
Thank you very much.
And Your Honor, I'd just like to note staff appreciates the accommodation by Your Honor and the parties for allowing Mr. Patterson to appear on a web platform. Staff's next witness is Mr. Evan Thomas.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the testimony that you're about to give?
Can you state your name and spell it for the court reporter, please?
Your Honor, you might want to move the mic back over.
Oh, good call. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, your witness, counsel.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas, what are your job responsibilities at the Commission?
I am a regulatory economist in the Telecommunications, Gas, and Water Division.
And did you prepare direct testimony that was filed in this proceeding on February 12th, 2024?
Yes.
And did that consist of a public version and a separate confidential version?
Yes.
Your Honor, we would ask that Mr. Thomas's direct testimony be marked as Staff Exhibit 2,
Staff Exhibit 2 is marked.
and that Mr. Thomas's confidential testimony be marked as Staff Exhibit 2C.
Staff Exhibit 2C is marked.
Do you have any edits or corrections to that testimony?
No.
Your Honor, we would ask that that testimony be admitted into the record.
Any objection?
None.
Staff Exhibits 2 and 2C are admitted.
And the witness is available for cross-exam.
Office of People's Counsel?
Just briefly. Good morning, Mr. Thomas.
Morning.
You've heard the testimony here today. So, do you know for a fact whether or not do we know for a fact whether or not WGL paid a premium for the certified natural gas as opposed to a regular?
No.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Thomas, you filed your testimony on February 12th, I think it was, and subsequent to that, on February 26th, WGL filed the rebuttal testimony of witness Woolahan. Part of that testimony included responses to the list of questions that you posed that needed, the staff needed more information on pages 10 and 11 of your testimony.
Yes.
Do you have still any questions remaining for the company?
Yes, but I think they can be answered next year, and that's regarding the retirement of the certificates. I think there were questions regarding if they would count toward Maryland's GHG goals. I'm still not 100% certain on that, and so I think I would appreciate more information potentially next year to see, how the situation evolves, if they have figured out anything further regarding that. And so that's really it.
Okay. And your conclusion that WGL's processes were competitive and reasonable, did that conclusion apply both to the CNG gas and WGL's processes as a whole?
Yes.
All right, I don't have any further questions. Anything else any other questions for this witness from WGL?
No, Your Honor.
Office of People's Counsel?
No, Your Honor.
Staff?
No,
Any
Your Honor.
Redirect? Thank you for your testimony this morning. Staff rests?
That's staff's case.
All right, I have a housekeeping matter. I marked WGL's exhibits 2, 2C, 4, and 6. I just want to make sure. I marked the errata version filed January 30th. That was correct. I don't, correct?
That's
the one that
correct,
you
Your Honor.
intended?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And second housekeeping matter. We have these hearings once a year, and WGL's period under review ends in August. And then WGL's starts the new factors in December. Is there a more appropriate time for us to be having these hearings on a yearly basis? I'm asking where the sweet spot is for WGL between getting the data and being able to provide it to staff and OPC and having a hearing and also having an order from the hearing closer in time to the factors going into the billing process.
I would need to consult with our energy acquisition team, but I can tell you that the company is fine with the schedule as it has been these last few years.
Okay. Sometimes the schedule, in these matters, sometimes the schedule moves forward a little bit each year, and sometimes it moves back a little bit each year, and I just kind of like to start getting us to the sweet spot. So if you'll just respond via email with all the parties as to what that is, I'd like to start looking towards that.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Anything else from any of the parties? All right, thank you for your testimony this morning. I really appreciate everyone's hard work, and we can go off the record.